everybody, it's Chris Eads, and on the line is Wootini here with another Gay Gamer video podcast. As I predicted last week, I did finish Uncharted 2, but it took me a while because the beginning of the week I was actually kind of still addicted to Fuser, and I've been kind of getting the hang of it, and it keeps teaching me new skills to use, like instruments and fading and everything. And some of them I'm like, eh, but then some of them I actually really enjoy, so it's kind of fun. And then some of them are like really complicated, and I'm like, this is too much. But I've been getting better at it. I'm in the groove, you might say. So I was actually really enjoying that. So it took me a while to get back to Uncharted. But also on Wednesday, everything in the world turned upside down, and Animal Crossing wasn't enough to kind of chillax me. So I ended up, I was like, I need No Man's Sky. But I need No Man's Sky in VR because I needed to escape this world and go to an entirely different one. And I don't even care that the graphics are lower resolution in VR because the immersion is just so much better, and it was just what I needed to escape this shitty reality and go someplace better. Just for a little while. But eventually I did decide I am so close to the end, I need to go ahead, and I did finish Uncharted 2. But as you'll notice from the trophy screenshot, which of course is on the black screen in between cutscenes, because when programming your game, why wouldn't you program it? Why bother programming it to take a screenshot of a trophy on a moment in the cutscene that is, you know, your choosing? Let's do it on the black screen in between cutscenes. But so many developers do this, and in the big AAA titles too, that I've just gotten used to the black screen trophies. It's just tedious and annoying, but what are you gonna do? I don't know why they don't bother. A little bit of effort, folks. But anyway, as you can see from that trophy screenshot, I finished the game on easy. Unfortunately, I played the whole game on normal, and it was fine. I mean, I had a few difficult moments where it got a little rough, and I had to redo sections over and over again because I kept dying, but I was able to do it on normal until I got to the very final boss fight, which was such a complete pain in the ass. Like, it was so obnoxious. And the thing is that I was pretty sure I knew what to do. I just wasn't able to do it. Like, my gaming skills just weren't up to it. I'm old, I suck, whatever. So after like half a dozen or more attempts, I was getting really angry, and I said, let me just look online and see if I am doing something wrong, or if there's another strategy that I should apply. And it turns out there's not. I was doing what I was supposed to be doing, I just wasn't good at it. Not good enough, anyway. So, I took a break, played some more Fuser, got 4 stars on my first try in a Fuser set, which was kind of amazing. I was very proud of myself for that. Usually I only get 3. At best. Usually I get 2. Occasionally I'll get 3. But this time I got 4, and I was like, yeah! Then I decided that I would go back and try again, but I lowered the difficulty to easy so that I could maybe get past this boss fight. And even then, even after switching it to easy, it still took me like almost a half a dozen tries there. It took me a bunch of tries. I kept dying, still. But I didn't want it to be one of those games, because there have been a lot of games that I have played where I have enjoyed the game up until the end, and then there's a boss fight, and it's like, I can't beat this. I can't win. And then your option is to keep trying, at which point the game becomes frustrating and annoying, and then you hate it, and it's not fun. Or you just put it down and move on to something else, which is what I usually do, because I don't want to end up hating a game because of a final boss fight. So, games are supposed to be fun. And after like a dozen tries, it's not fun anymore. So, luckily with Uncharted 2, you did have the option to lower difficulty at any point in the game. They don't always do that. Some games are like, set it, and then forget it. Forget it, you're not changing difficulty. So this one, luckily, I was able to change it to easy so that I could finally get through that bit and then watch the ending cutscene and finish it. And having finished Uncharted 2, I have to say, I don't get it. As I understand it, everyone considers Uncharted 2 like the high point of the entire series. They're like, oh, like 1 was good, but 2 was like amazing, and then 3 was like another step down. It was not good. And I don't get it, because to me, there was a lot of shooting in Uncharted 2. And I don't remember that much shooting in the first game, except for the fact that I played that first game like years ago, because it came with my PlayStation 4. So I don't know if my memories of Uncharted 1 are like rose-colored, or if they're just wrong, because it was so long ago and I'm not remembering correctly. But I was annoyed with how much shooting there was. There was way more shooting than exploring. Like, there was the entire middle section of the game was just one firefight after another, with some cutscenes interspersed. And there was no, like, exploration or puzzle solving. Like, at the end they were like, oh yeah, sorry, here's some more exploration and a couple of puzzles to solve, even though they're, like, rudimentary and not even remotely difficult. So that was kind of frustrating. I was like, I prefer the exploration and puzzle solving to the shooting, and it was like the ratio was like this much shooting with this much puzzle solving. So, yeah, I was not a fan. Like, and it's a shame, because I like the game. Like, the story was good, the acting was good, the graphics are good. I mean, it's upgraded from a PS3 game, but it still looked good, and it played well. But I got really bored with all the shooting, you know? It just was a lot. So, like, and also sometimes the checkpoints are pretty well placed, but there were a few points in there where it was like, you die and then, like, have to go all the way back to the beginning of the entire firefight and kill all those people again. And that just gets kind of tedious. And then I have to shut it off and come back later, because I'm just like, I can't do this again right now. It just took so long to do this, and now you want me to do it again? No. And it was especially frustrating because there was one where I had, like, no trouble, and I killed all the guys, and it was fine. And then Elena was just standing there, like, shooting at the ground down below her from, like, the edge of a cliff or something, and she's, like, shooting, and I'm, like, looking, I was like, there's literally nothing there. There is no guy there. And it wasn't even like he was invisible and firing back. I even shot at the same area. Nothing happened. I was like, fine, let's just leave. So I went to leave that area, and she suddenly fell down dead. And I was like, okay, rude. And then I had to start the whole thing over again and kill all those guys again, which was super tedious. Luckily, it was a small group of people, so it didn't take too long. But I'm just like, ugh, like, a glitch was annoying and made me redo things. She died. I didn't die. She died. Yeah, so I was not impressed. It was a lot of shooting, and I got kind of bored with all the shooting. So I decided that now that I finished it, I'm going to play something that isn't shooting. There's no guns, no shooting at all. So I downloaded Adrift, which was a little tricky because I went into my game library to see, like, what I had in there, and I'm looking through, and I'm like, oh, I could play that, or I could play that. And I was like, no, I want something without shooting. And I'm like, oh, Adrift would be perfect. But it wasn't in my game library. And so I was like, huh? I remember downloading it, like, years ago at, like, a PSN flash sale for, like, $5. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I downloaded it, or added it to my library anyway. So I went to the store, searched for it, and sure enough, there was just a download button. So I did buy it, but it wasn't in my library anymore. And I'm like, what the heck is that all about? So now I'm wondering how many games I have that I own that are not in my game library. I have to see if there's some way to, like, refresh your game library, because that's obnoxious. Although, maybe in the store there's a section, like, as opposed to on your console, because I don't know, like, is it, like, limiting the number of games that you can see in your game library? Is it only the most recent or something? Because that's weird and annoying. But I think in the store you can see, here are the games that you have purchased, and if you want to download them. But there's no shooting in Adrift, because you're an astronaut who is trapped, struggling to survive on a space station that has been blown apart and is in chunks floating above the Earth. And I had a little rough start because there's a tutorial level that teaches you how to move around in Zero-G, but then they didn't teach you about the oxygen canisters that keep you alive, because your suit is busted up and leaking, and like you have to like keep using these oxygen canisters to refill your oxygen because it's leaking constantly and you're using it. And the problem is like the very first time I like went and I used all the oxygen containers, and then I went inside and I couldn't figure out what to do, and then I died because I had no oxygen. I was like, wait, I used all the oxygen, because I was trying to fill my oxygen meter all the way. It won't go all the way. It only goes as far as it goes, and using one canister fills it as it full. So you only need to use one canister, and then you go and do stuff. And then when you're getting low, you use another one. Didn't tell me that. I didn't figure that out until after I died. And then I used an oxygen canister, and I went, oh, it's filled it completely. Let's figure out what we're doing. And if we need another one, there they are, and I'll just grab another one and do it. Although sometimes grabbing things in zero gravity is like super difficult because they keep floating around you and you're trying to catch up to it. It's like, and it's funny because when I first bought this game, I remember thinking, oh, this looks cool, but it would be so much cooler if it was in VR. But now playing it, I'm like super glad that it's actually not available in PSVR. I would have played it back then if it was in PSVR. But I'm glad that it's not, because as it is playing on the television, it's very stressful, and it's making me very anxious. And I think that if I was playing this in PSVR and was completely immersed in this, I think that my anxiety would my head would explode. It's like, ah! So, because some parts of it, well, like, especially when you're like leaving a section of space station to float through space with the Earth below you to get to the next section of space station, you know, and you're running out of oxygen and everything's around you and you're like, ah! So it's very stressful. But I quite like it so far. I think it's a very short game. I'll probably have finished it by the time next episode comes along. But that's what I wanted. I didn't want something that was going to be like a 50-hour game. I wanted something simple and short that was like an indie game that I could just go sit down and play and just be like, okay, good, fun. So I might be able to talk about it completely. I might have finished it by next time. So I don't know. Come back and find out. Bye!